Everybody, how's it going? In this video, you get 3 for 1. You learn how to traverse a binary search tree using 3 different methods, and they are InOrder, PreOrder, and PostOrder traversal. But all of these methods are recursive functions. So what does a recursive function mean? Well, it basically means that it is a function that defines itself in terms of itself. So let's start by the most common one, InOrder traversal. And why are we going to start with this one? Because if you understand InOrder traversal, you basically understand PreOrder and PostOrder traversal. So we're going to spend the majority of our time explaining InOrder traversal and intuitively understanding PreOrder and PostOrder traversal. So let's get started. InOrder traversal idea is that you start out at a node and then you perform these 3 steps and only these 3 steps. You go left and perform an InOrder traversal, and then you perform an action on the current node, and then finally you go right. Okay, so this all sounds very confusing, so let's have an example. So let's start at the root node 10. Okay, the first action you do is that you go left and perform an InOrder traversal. What does it mean to perform an InOrder traversal? It means to restart. So we restart again at this node, which is currently 6, and we go left. Okay, so we went left, and then what do? We perform an InOrder traversal. So we restart once again. It's a recursive function. Okay, so we went left. What do we do now? We go left. Oh, but there is nothing here. You can't perform an InOrder traversal here. Otherwise, it's just going to go infinitely to the bottom of the screen, right? So basically you abort and then you go back to the InOrder steps and you move on to the next step, which is what? Step 2. Perform an action on the current node, which is 2. This current node is 2. And now for the purposes of this video, this action is going to be to add this node to an empty array. So the array, this is the one, so we're going to add 2, right? And now that we've added 2 and we're done with the second step, we're going to move on to the third step. What does the third step say? Well, it says go right and perform an InOrder traversal. So we finished left, we added here, and then we go right. Well, there isn't anything right, so we can't perform an InOrder traversal. So you've successfully done these 3 steps on this part right here. Okay. So this subtree, I know that there's nothing here, but I'd like to call it a subtree just for purposes of understanding it, is done. The InOrder traversal on this side is done. But wait a second. This whole part is the left side of this node, which is node number 6. So we're done for this node for step 1. So step 1 for node 6 is done. So now we're currently at step 2. And what does step 2 say? It says perform an action on the current node. So you add a 6 here. The action was to add a number to an array. Remember, we're done with that step. We go right and perform InOrder. So let's go right first. So we go right to 7 and then perform an InOrder traversal. So we go back here and we restart. And the first step is to go left from the current node and perform an InOrder traversal. We go left. There isn't anything here. So we move on to the next step, which is perform an action on the current node. In this case, to add this node to the array. So we have 7. We're done with step 2. We go right from the current node, which is 7, and perform an InOrder. We go right. There isn't anything here. So we're done with this part as well. So if you notice here, we're done with the right side, the left side, and the right side. We went left from node 6 and performed InOrder, and we went right from node 6 and performed InOrder. So this whole part is done. But hold on a second. This whole thing right here is the left side of this node. So really, in reality, what we've been doing so far is the InOrder traversal on the left side of this node. So we're done with this step. And now we can move on to the next step for this node, which is perform an action on the current node, which is to add the current node to the array. So 10. We're done with this node. Now we're free to go right of the current node and perform InOrder. So we go right from 10 to 15. Okay. So we're here. We went right at 15. And what do we do here? We perform an InOrder. Okay. We go perform an InOrder. So that means we have to restart. And we go left. Okay. We went left. We're at 12 now. And perform an InOrder. We go left. Find that there is nothing here. So left is done. And then perform an action on the current node, which is 12. We add the 12. Okay. And then we go right. So there's nothing here. So this whole part is done. This whole part is in fact the left subtree of this tree. So we're done with the first step for this tree. And now we are at step 2. And what does step 2 say? Perform an action on the current node, which is to add 15. Okay. Now that we're done with step number 2, we go to step number 3. And what does step number 3 say? Go right and perform an InOrder traversal. So we go to 20, and then we go to 20 and perform an InOrder traversal. So we restart, we go left, and then add the 20, and then finally go right and find nothing, and basically add nothing. Now that we're done looping through everything, we can just basically return this array. And by return this array, I mean use this array, view this array, or whatever action that we were doing, we can now make use of it because we've successfully traversed everything. Now, you might be asking yourself, what about PostOrder and PreOrder, right? Well, the whole idea of PostOrder and PreOrder is basically to shift things around a bit. So instead of having the action in the middle, in the center, you can simply put it at the beginning. And now you've got PreOrder. That's it. Instead of having the action at the beginning, and you put it at the end, and now you've got PostOrder. All right, so let's code it in Python. Let's start with the InOrder traversal. So we're supposed to go left, perform an action, which is add to array, and then go right. Okay. So in the binary search tree, going right is as simple as tree dot left. Okay. And going right is as simple as tree dot right. So you go left and then you apply the InOrder traversal. So let's do that. Let's copy this same function over here and write dot left and then remove this array. Oh, by the way, the array here is initialized to nothing if nothing is passed to this function. Okay, and then you copy this same exact line and you put it here, and instead of left, right, because that's what you want to do. You want to go right and apply InOrder traversal. Then add to array. The function for appending to an array in Python is called .append, and then you get tree.value. Why do we use left value and right? Well, it's basically because the class for the node in the binary search tree has these values. So it has a value, it has a left, it has a right, and that's why we use those to navigate the binary search tree. Okay, once everything's done, we add the array. But hold on a second. If we keep this code the way it is right now, it will not work. What you need to do is to account for the none value. So if tree is not none, so you basically indent everything, and there you go. That's it. That's how you make a function to traverse a binary search tree. Right, and there's the answer right here on the right hand side: 2, 6, 7, 10, 12, 15, 20. Okay. What if you want to create a PreOrder and a PostOrder? Well, you basically copy and then paste, rearrange it. So if it's PreOrder, you put this here. And that's it. You have a pre-order. But let's just change their name, shall we? Pre-order traversal. And let's copy this name here so we can actually recurse. Okay, what about if we want to make a post order? We basically do this. So post order, we rename it, and then we look for the action and we put the action at the end, hence the word post. Okay, let's rename things. Okay, in order, and that's it. That's literally it. That's how you in order, pre-order, and post-order traverse a tree. Thank you.